Aquarius, this is your weekly tarot card reading from Born Without Boundaries Tarot. It is for Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. There is always an extended reading if you want to join me for more details and a deeper reading. Those links are below. You can also join the UNBOUND membership. That'll give you full access, unlimited access to all of the extendeds, plus all the other perks for the channel membership. So I hope to see you there. There's a new video that comes out for Aquarius every single Wednesday at 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. So remember to subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell so that you know when I upload your favorite content. If you'd like to join me for a daily tarot card reading, I have a second YouTube channel called Astrology Motivation. I'll attach the link above, and you can join me for live chat and daily tarot card readings Monday through Friday over there too. I can't wait to see you there. Aquarius, we're going to start, like every week, with the astrology. And of course, the astrology is time sensitive, but the reading itself is not. And trust in God, trust in energy. It's going to bring you the message that you need at the right time. Energy heads out in ripples. So ultimately, that ripple effect is going to get you the reading just when you need to hear and just when the energy is reaching you. However, this would be the point of impact, right? This is when it takes off. So you can look back to the astrology for this week and do a little research to kind of say, where was I at this time when all of this had all started? So we just went through the full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio, which did kind of was ground zero and the point of impact for a lot of energy that got released, and it's going to be impacting us for months to come. So ultimately, what is that about? That is about finding the cracks beneath the surface and destroying anything that has sat on top of it. Anything that was built on lies or deception, most especially self-deception, repression of feelings, not wanting to see things, not wanting to hear things. All of a sudden something crumbles and we're like, but you knew inside, you knew the whole time that something wasn't right and you weren't confronting it. And it's those cracks that are going to bring stuff down. So the stuff that's actually crumbling is just symptomatic of where the cracks actually really were. How does that impact you? Just like everybody else. But it is a little bit intensified because Scorpio, Taurus, Aquarius, Leo, it's going to be the fixed signs that are hit the hardest. Now, what is directly impacting you for this week? Two things. Saturn, which is in Aquarius, and also one of your original ruling dignitary, so one of your two ruling dignitaries now. Saturn is going to be squared to the sun again, and it's going to stay squared to the sun through June 3rd, which is also when Mercury comes out of retrograde. So there's going to be a lot of talk back, sass back, arguments, especially with authority figures or father figures for you, especially around things that involve social justice, the way society is run, the way society is organized, how we treat others, humanitarianism. All of those things are going to cause clashes between old and new ideals, between feeling like the authority has to stop, like the authority has to change, whatever the authority is. It's not that it's not trusted anymore. It's that there's almost this energy of, but it's wrong. And how and there's going to be verbal clashes within this time up through June 3rd about all those things you've tried to hold back, but now they're coming out. And then we also have your ruling dignitary is Uranus, and that of course is still in Taurus. And Uranus this week is slightly aspected, I think, to Neptune, which could cause almost like kind of delusion or frustration when it comes to, well, the way that I dream things or the way that I imagine things, why aren't they coming true, or over fantasizing things, or over idealizing things. But that's just like a little rub. What's really the big aspect this week is the opposition between Uranus and the South Node, which means, because the South Node rules where we came from and coming into this world with all the dharma that we had from the past life and what we had to learn and what we had to go through and how our childhood impacted what we had to go through, because we don't choose our childhood, just like we don't choose our dharma. We don't choose what we came into this world as, and so what we came into this world as actually helps us deal with whatever debts to be paid or lessons we had to learn from our past life. We are so ready with this opposition between Uranus and the South Node to be done with that, to let it go. But the only way you can let that go is to recognize it and prove that you've learned from it, especially with Saturn square the Sun. Well, have you done enough? Have you done it right? You're going to be really hard on yourself. Since this is Saturn and Uranus that are they're not intense aspect to each other, but they're intense aspect to everything else. It's the dynamics of who you are that are going to be in a really dynamic push and pull against each other right now, especially where things of generational beliefs, generational understandings, your relationship with your parents versus your relationship with your grandparents. Who are you more like? Trying to start new traditions or ways of being. Aquarius, all of this is coming into some sort of clash, especially when it comes to words or how we speak to each other or messages that are going to be delivered to you. Talking could cause a lot, it's just speaking, just randomly having a conversation with each other could bring up a lot of tensions, and talk through them. You've got to, that's why they're coming up, to be worked out. Let's get into the cards. Aquarius. Okay. Open to infinite possibilities. So this is you. This is Aquarius energy. Think of this like a star card. Aspirations. You don't want to be held in. You don't want to be tied down or tied back or held back or restricted or restrained. Your mind is wide open, and you want your options to be wide open too. This is about high aspirations, which are wonderful. Just be wary of high expectations. That's where the clashes are really going to happen. And as soon as somebody expects, one of your aspirations becomes an expectation from yourself or from somebody else, and in this case, especially, parental figures, that's when you stop wanting them. That's when they start clashing with who you really are, because you don't want anybody to tell you who you're going to be. You don't want anybody to decide or determine what, where, when, why for you, or be able to predict the decisions that you're going to make. So your aspirations are here, but they could quickly be put out this week by somebody who just says, okay, what's your plan? Well, it doesn't matter what my plan, what do you mean what my plan is? It's like, stop trying to take authority over what I think. You want no confinements. And it's not that you don't want any obligations. You just want to choose those obligations. You want to feel in control and not have somebody out there watching you and keeping score as to, but you haven't done this and you haven't done that. And this could be going on inside of you too. You could be judging yourself. You could be your own checklist right now. And that's going to drive you nuts. But ultimately, you're going to hear the voice in your head. It's going to be very clear. Holy shit, why am I fucking talking to myself like this? Why is this going on? Why is this the internal dialogue? Can it be, hey, you're great, you can do this? You get to choose your internal dialogue. You're starting to realize that your internal dialogue didn't come from you. It's not even in your voice. What does it even sound like? Whose voice is it even? Right? Why is it still in your head? You're going to be able to really hear it and articulate those details about it. And that's really going to empower you to be able to understand the points and aspects of your internal voice that you should and should not be listening to. Because where does it come from? Does it come from what somebody else taught me, or does it come from what I know to be true myself? And you're going to start to hear the difference. Then we have learn from the past. And this is matriarchal energy, but it's just parental energy. This is Taurus energy. Taurus and Uranus. This is Aquarian and Taurus energy. Uranus is in Taurus. You're going up against a hard-headed person, a stubborn person, or stubbornness that's coming from the world, whatever the traditional establishment, wherever you're living. There's a lot of clashes. So if you want to make changes to your community, you want to live a different kind of lifestyle, or live an alternative family, or do a different kind of work, this is when you get a lot of pushback, or just not even pushback, just running into a lot of red tape when it comes to what is currently established. Or this could be a person really, really blockheaded that does not want to change. This is the immovable energy that is kind of blocking and really doesn't get that aspirational energy. The problem is Uranus is in Taurus. So this is you. It's like you surrounded by this blockheaded nature and having to figure out. You want to be innovative, Aquarius? The most innovative thing, the most innovative position you could ever be in, or the position where you're going to need the most innovation, is here when Uranus is in Taurus. Because this is when you're dealing with the absolute like opposite energy of, I don't want to change, I want to do things the same, and not only do I want to, it's the best thing to do to keep things the same. Taurus is dedicated to keeping things the same, to holding on to traditions. This is where it feels safe, this is where it feels solid, this is its job. And then Uranus comes by and Uranus wants to change everything. And Uranus is the great disruptor, the great rebel. In Taurus, it's like, what are you even doing here? But that's the thing. Like, what are you even doing here? And what's the purpose? And there's no time to be more innovative than when you're really dealing with a much more a mindset that's completely different than yours. Because now, really, the trick of the whole thing for you is the trick of the whole situation is, how do I communicate with this blockhead? You know, how do I communicate with somebody that communicates different than me, wants different things from me? But if I can't, and I can't break through this, then I can't get done what I need to get done. And so there's going to be a lot of tension, a lot of frustration, a lot of physical, maybe not necessarily fighting, but a lot of clashing. But listen, write it down. Write where your biggest clashes are. Because when the clashes are happening, you're going to be sensitive about it. You're going to be taking it personally. But if you write it down, you can objectively look at that list later on, and you can say to yourself, oh, that's the tension point. Okay, how do I innovate solution for that? Oh, that's the tension point. How do I innovate the solution for that? This is about being innovative in the most unpractical way to be innovative, which is inside the box. You have to innovate inside the box in order to build the new structures to take the box down, because the box isn't going to fall until you've created some kind of new structure. But in order to do that, you really have to play by the rules to break the rules down, if you know what I'm saying. And I think that you do. And this could represent your society, your boss, your spouse, any even aspects of yourself that are immovable, right? And having to figure out right now what makes them tick and how to make them malleable. Be at home. So this is in reverse. So it's got to do with something going against the grain, going against the fourth house energy, going against your childhood, where you were raised, what you were raised in, going against going against expectations, but also leaving it behind, allowing yourself to be the self that you created instead of the self that somebody else created. This could also represent you are not physically at home. You have to travel, or that you realize, this could be some clash with your mother. Yeah. It could be some clash with your mother, especially if you had a mother that was rarely home, or some sort of maternal energy that was very forward, direct, and obstinate, but also rarely home. So in some ways, the clash happens because of hypocrisy, or maybe hypocrisy that you're calling out. That's really interesting energy. More for Aquarius, please. And this is love is all around. Okay? And this is life is speeding up. Okay, so this could be this sense of, I can't bring somebody home because my parents don't approve. Or this could be a sense of, I'm moving because I've fallen in love, or I feel the love all around me. Gemini season. In other words, this is a Gemini energy. It's through these conversations and actually being able to love somebody enough to rely on the fact that you can argue with them and still have love afterward, that is going to actually be The last thing you think that would push your relationship forward. This is being able to actually let out and say what you need to say and let them do the same thing. Because anything that you've been holding back now is actually what's keeping you from the intimacy that you seek or the progress that you seek. So it's allowing yourself right now, Aquarius, to just speak your mind and say it out loud. And I know you like to speak your mind, but this is not about your mind. This is about speaking your feelings. This is about the stuff that you've repressed and held on to so that you could feel like you're staying in control of a situation. You're not. You're actually blocking up your chi. You're blocking up your energy. You're blocking up that flow because you're not addressing these things that you feel. When you get out these things that you feel, which maybe shame you or you're embarrassed of, make you feel vulnerable, make you feel weak, but ultimately it's like unclogging a dam. It's like unclogging a drain. Once that happens, everything starts to flow and you can move and make the progress that you want to make, but you really are getting in your own way. It's not necessarily what happened to you is not necessarily your fault, but not dealing with it or confronting it or trying to hold back from it and talking and saying, but we should change this and we should change this. If you're not willing to change yourself, why should anybody be willing to listen to changes you want to make to their world, their lives, or their community? You have to always apply your strategies to you first. And that means the blockhead that exists in you, the blocks that exist in you, that's what you have to allow out. The wonderful thing about this energy is you'll have conscious access to them. No, nobody can blame anybody for holding back things that they've repressed, right? But now you're conscious, you're consciously aware, you have a connection to and know that you have to take responsibility for, especially those feelings or those intuitions or stuff that you haven't allowed yourself to experience completely because ultimately it made you feel too vulnerable, made you feel too weak. Maybe you're ashamed of it or shame has developed around it because you're ashamed of vulnerability. I don't know what the reason is, but the normal stuff that normally comes out, all that clever crap that you spew at everybody, that's not going to be enough to distract people now. They're going to be able to look right in you and see, oh, you're still hiding something from me. You're talking all this bullshit around me, but look at what do you really feel? What is really going on in there? Because it's going to be so close to the surface, you're not going to be able to hide it from anybody. And that may sound really, really frightening and scary, Aquarius, but it's actually the liberation that you need. The universe wants you to move forward. The universe wants you to be listened to. The universe wants your purpose to be progressed. But ultimately, it's not going to happen without unclogging all of those clogs inside of yourself first. You've got to apply everything to you first. Once everything starts to come out, then once you let it out or you speak to somebody, love is all around you. This is Gemini season. You're going to feel a lot of love. You're going to feel as soon as that sun moves into Gemini, like, oh, there's so much more freedom. There's so much more easiness. And that's happening toward the end of this week. So there's so much more ease. And then communications, even though Mercury is in retrograde, communications as well as your ideas, you'll be able to start making progress again. Love is all around. Love is all around. We got to get deeper into that. We got to get deeper into that. Aquarius, the Sun card. Are you in love with a Leo? Something about a Leo energy? Because there's something about Leo energy which is the opposite energy from you, but it's like your opposite is pulling you. And Uranus is definitely in opposition to the South Node. So it's definitely this extreme polarity that's pulling on you. It's grounding you. You're gravitating toward it. There's also leadership involved. There's a lesson to be learned in a mindset that's completely different than yours, or purpose that's completely different than yours. You're also being said, like, what is your intent? What is your purpose on this planet? Finding it. Finally realizing it, taking charge of it, moving forward with it, also being noted for it. There's something that's going to happen in Gemini season where all of a sudden you're going to be surrounded by love. You're going to be flocked by fandom or Everybody's going to want you around. You're going to be in the spotlight, and however that may apply to your life. It may not be the legitimate limelight, but it doesn't matter because you will be spotlighted. There's a level of confidence and self-possessed authority, getting attention, really shining, and being able to progress a message of love, or even being able to tell somebody that you love them. Okay, Cancer energy can come in reverse in the past. So way in the past. But this wouldn't be past life past. Over here, way on this side of my table, when cards come out there, this is about past this life. So years ago, this is a bad relationship with a mother figure, or a bad understanding of what motherhood is. Maybe a representation of not wanting to become a mother, or having, but more or less it's bad experience in your fourth house, probably with a mother, but it could be with a lot of different figures. It could be the whole house, something clashing there. It doesn't mean that you hate this person. It just means that somehow you felt let down by them, and ultimately acknowledging that you felt let down by them has been something that you've tried to keep inside of yourself, or acknowledging that, however they let you down. Maybe you found out that your grandparents or your parents were like, I don't know, Secret Service, or did some crazy shit for the CIA, whatever it is, marched in protests that you are now adamantly opposed to. Whatever it is, you're finding something in your family history that makes you feel disconnected from them. And that's causing a lot of issues, and it's coming out. It's definitely something you have to address, especially how you feel about it, because I don't think that you've really addressed these issues ever since it happened, and it was a long time ago. So you've held on to this for quite some time, and it's almost like a crack in your core. You had buried it so low you forgot it was there, and now all of a sudden it's like the steam is coming all the way to the surface. This is actually a blessing, because the blocks that you've had in your life up until now are because this has been all stopped up and blocked. And once this block is pushed through, then you're going to make some progress. So Aquarius, let's get deeper into the details and see how this impacts your career, your love life, and your money. I will see you guys in the extended.